Welcome to Blame the Bible, a Bible study where we actually read all of the horrible parts of Christianity that they don't really like to talk about in church. Today's topic is slavery. Now, as we know in the Old Testament, slavery and owning slaves was very common even among the Israelites. Abraham owned slaves, all the kings favored by God and blessed by the Spirit of the Lord in the Old Testament had slaves. Many of them had many female slaves that were like, concubines, basically. It was very common. And today, many modern churches in Christianity really like to think that, oh, with the New Testament and Jesus entering the picture, that's when everyone realized slavery was wrong and we shouldn't do it anymore. But that is not what it says in the New Testament of the Bible. Let's read together. Colossians chapter 3 has some guidelines for good Christian households to follow. Verse 18, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Oh, please don't. But they need to submit themselves to you. Okay, that's according to the Bible, right? Y'all, I think we've just discovered the origin of Christian misogyny. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Well, that is just nice. That, yes, that's good advice. Don't embitter your children. What? Slaves? Them good Christian households in the Bible have slaves. Verse 22 says, slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything. Everything. And do it not only when their eye is on you and to curry their favor, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward, it is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrongs, and there is no favoritism. Now, you might not know, but the Latin word service, which usually in the Bible and the New Testament is translated to say servant, can also be translated to mean slave. So every time you hear the word servant in the Bible, they're talking about slaves, y'all. But here, they're not even trying to mince the words. They are directly saying the word slaves. They're not even trying to hide it. It is becoming very, very clear how all the slave owners throughout all of history, from the Old Testament Bible times all the way up through slavery in the United States, were Christian or following, the Abrahamic God, and they believed that they were doing the right thing and that they were, I guess, operating under the approval of the Lord. And this is also why most of the slave owners, especially in the South, wanted to convert all their slaves to Christianity and read the Bible to them. Maybe not, teach them to read, but read the Bible verses to them that supported slavery and encouraged the slaves to see their masters as a stand in for God. Serve your masters as if you were serving the Lord. Y'all, this book is messed up, but let's keep going. Here we go, also in the New Testament, in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity in heart, just as you would obey Christ. Obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, not just when they're looking, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from your heart. Okay, they really wanted these slaves to just be in it, just so grateful to be slaves and just feel like they're doing some noble work and obeying their masters for the Lord, right? Verse 7 says, serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people, because you know that the Lord will reward each one for whatever good they do, whether they are slave or free. And masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Do not threaten them, since you know that he who is both their master and yours is in heaven, and there is no favoritism with him. I mean, that's, you know, I guess they're trying to make the masters be a little bit more humane to their slaves, not threaten them. But I wonder if the slaves decided they did not want to serve their masters as if they were wholeheartedly doing it in service of the Lord Jesus Christ, and maybe they decided they did not want to be slaves anymore. Would the masters be allowed to threaten them at that point in time? Like, this is a all of this is assuming a lot. This is very much written under the assumption that the slaves are going to be super happy about being a slave, and the masters will be able to treat them very lovingly and kindly because of that. But we know that is not how it went. It really amazes me how much of this I had never heard in church or in Sunday school. I mean, it's right here. The next section talks about the armor of God. And you know, they love to talk about, putting on the armor of God, like the shield of faith and all of these different things. It's one of their favorite passages to quote. But right above it, if your eye just wanders up the page, we're talking about how great slavery is. Oh, with all the talk lately about banning books, guys, I think this book needs to be banned. Or do we want slavery to return? If we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. And we throwing this book around in churches like it is the infallible, true, divinely inspired word of the Lord, and each word in it is directly from God, who has the ultimate authority over all of us as the creator of the universe. And it is in support of slavery. The Bible loves slavery, guys. I don't understand. Do you know how many Black Americans hold this Bible dear to their heart? And in the same breath, thank the Lord that they are no longer under the yoke of slavery and oppression in this country, even though equality is far from a reality at this point. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, things need to get better, and they need to get better fast. This book, this Bible is not the way to move forward. It can only pull us backwards as a society. It can only pull us down, sinking into the mire of immorality that is supposedly ordained by God that we used to experience in the past. Christians tend to say morality is objective. It comes from God. They say it's actually part of the evidence of why they believe God exists, because without a God, without a source of objective morality, how can there be objective morality? I say morality can be objectively good or evil. You can be moral simply based on the fact that actions themselves are innately good or bad. And we as human beings with brains can reason what is good or bad, what is moral for ourselves without the need to hear it from God. And if slavery and all these other things that we are reading that are so horrible in this Bible are coming from God, and this is to teach us what is moral and what is not, I say this is immoral. I say this is evil in this book. And this book is the one that should be banned. But don't blame me. It's in the Bible.